Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100 plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100 plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500 plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100 plus authorized training partners and 50 plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000 plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across.
Hello everyone, my name is Pratibha and I'll be your moderator today. So if at any point you have any question or if you would like to know more regarding the GSDC initiative, please feel free to use the chat box. So I hope you're all ready for today's session. Just allow me a minute to share my screen. Meanwhile, please do let us know from where you guys are watching. We would be happy to know that. On behalf of the Global Skill Development Council, I'm truly delighted to welcome you all in GSDC Certified Learning and Development Webinar Series, Learning that Works, Turning Skills, Strategies, and Talent into Business Values. Turning skills, strategies, and talent into measurable business impact. And one of the things which make this webinar so interesting is the amazing expert panel we have lined up for you. Some of them have already delivered a very incredible and insightful sessions, and others are all set to bring in more powerful ideas. So for those who have joined with us for the very first time, let me give you a quick introduction who we are. Global Skill Development Council is a globally recognized certification body. We are accredited by ABICB. Till yet, we have a 250,000 professional certified with us. We are partnered with 100 plus training providers, 1,000 plus multinational companies, and 50 plus universities worldwide. We also have 500 plus subject matter experts across globe who help us developing our programs. So these are the training partners who are associated with us from the Asia, Africa, Canada, Australia, Nigeria, Singapore, and many other regions. So special thanks to all training partners to be associating with us. And a very special thank you to our media partner, WordPress Hub, for covering all of our press releases and event releases. So before starting the session, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we have launched a very unique platform called GSDC AI Studio, Lifelong Learning Initiative. In GSDC AI Studio, you're going to get 100 plus live monthly sessions with global expert, including 4 daily sessions, 45-minute live expert lead session for hands-on learning, sessions from global expert. Now you can learn directly from our AI leaders around the world. Real-time practice. You can apply concept immediately and get your question answered. Certification ready. You will be getting the training aligned with industry standard for job ready skills. So currently we are covering 100 plus certification in our portfolio, including learning and development, HR, Gen AI, agentic AI, emerging technologies, ISO lead auditor and implementer, project management and PMO, Agile DevOps and SRE, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and many more. But once you get certified with GSTC, you just don't walk away with certification. You also become a part of our community, which comes with GSTC membership benefit, including lifelong membership, certification upgrade, workshop, boot camps, learning club access, also the full benefit of GSTC AI Studio, and many more. With that, it's time to welcome our today's speaker. Today we have Sheena with us. Sheena is a seasoned learning and development professional with 16 years of experience across global organization as a certified L&D strategies facilitator and high impact presenter. She brings deep expertise in designing transformative learning programs, building leadership capability, and driving organizational change. Sheena has led strategic learning initiative across India and global markets, delivering measurable business outcomes and shaping future ready talent through innovation, data driven learning architectures. Her leadership excellence is reflected in her ability to influence culture, enable change, and architect learning ecosystem that scale. And today she is going to present the session on mapping learning journeys, crafting seamless learner-centered experience from start to finish. But before handing over the virtual mic, just a quick reminder. If you have any query regarding the GSDC initiative, or if you would like to connect with Sheena for any kind of query, any kind of guidance, please feel free to use the chat box. Once again, don't be shy. Drop your reactions, emojis, and quick comment into the chat. That's how we know you're with us, actively listening and absorbing from the insightful session. And with that, it's time to welcome Sheena on our platform. Thank you so much, Sheena, coming on our platform. We are very honored to have you as our speaker today. The stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Pratibha. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I hope all of you are excited because I'm super excited. With your emoticons out there, just give me a quick thumbs up if you're excited. It's just for me to understand the pulse check. Are you all excited for this conversation? It's not a session, but it's conversation. And I'm sure we have a lot of you who are experienced. Please feel free to chime in because all our experience put in together will add a lot of value to the conversation that we're going to have today. On that note, I'm going to take a couple of seconds to get the screen up, and please give me those few seconds and just give me a heads up if you're able to see the screen. You are? A heads up, a thumbs up would work. Perfect. All right. So the topic is, learning. It's there everywhere. And do you all agree when I say that learning is the only way forward? Learning is the only constant. Do you all agree to what I just said? Yeah, yes, no, maybe. It's important for us to learn, no matter whichever stream of business that we are in. On that note, I would like to also understand which domain are you from? Do we have any of you from learning or any other functions? If you're okay to just put that in the chat window, it will help me understand who we're actually talking to. Would you take a couple of seconds to put that on the chat window for me, please? Which domain, which function do you belong to? Thank you, Tohib. L&D officer, Nasiba, welcome. Sure, let's see a couple of responses more. Would love to know which function, which domain are you representing? Okay, please feel free to put your responses in the window. Let it keep trickling in. Learning, HR, learning and development in finance. Maria, thank you. Thank you, Tommy. Great. So learning is the only constant because it's important for us to ensure that we learn the right way. And what is the right way? The right way is keeping the learner at the center. And that's the only way forward. And I'm sure we've heard of the change in worlds, right? I mean, it all began as a VUCA world. Have you all heard of VUCA? Have you all heard of volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world we were in? And then it changed. I mean, VUCA happened in early 2020s. That's exactly where, we had to train people. We had to ensure that we give them the right knowledge. And that was the only important business back then. And that happened in VUCA. And then the world shifted and to Bani. Now, what's Bani? Brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. So this is exactly where we had to, of course, give them the right kind of knowledge, but it was also equally important for us to share the skill set and help them curate their journey as well. And also add the people-centric element while people, started learning. So that happened when the Bani came into picture. And for your knowledge, VUCA's gone, Bani is gone. It's called the rupt world right now. And that's an interesting concept because when I say rupt, it is about being rapid, unpredictable, then paradoxical, and tangible. Paradoxical and tangible. And it is even more important for us to ensure that we keep the learner at the center because the world that we're in is so rapidly changing. It's so unpredictable. It's so paradoxical. The problems don't come and wait for the solutions. Problem starts and then we'll already have to embed the solutions in there. And we don't have the time to wait. So with all of this, our learning mentality or the learning perspective need to change. And when we talk about changing, of course, that's exactly what we're going to discuss today. That is keeping the learner at the center and understanding the nuances of what is important and how can we ensure that we quickly curate the important or the, the learning journey for our learner to make it absolutely stick. So that's exactly what we will be discussing in the session today. If there's anything that you want to chime in, please feel free to put that in the window, or you can unmute and have a quick chat with me too. So couple of questions here just to kind of check on your understanding. So, put your response here, A or B. The question is, let's say employees attend a one-day learning workshop or a leadership workshop. They complete the feedback form and they come back to work. What are we referring to here? Is it a learning journey or is it a course? It's B. Okay, Ajit says B. Others, is it A or B? And if it's A, why A? If it's B, why B? Learning journeys, Heap says, okay. Okay, Ritzen says learning journey. Benedict says A, Apollo says B, Maria says B. All right, all right. Why do you say it is B or why do you say it's A? Anybody? The answer is B. The answer is absolutely B. The journey to learning has just started. All right, it can be part of a larger program, which is a journey. So the answer is B because if the employees attend a one-day leadership workshop, they complete the feedback form, return to work, it's full stop. When there is no reinforcement, when there is no reiteration, when there is no follow-up, it cannot be a journey. A journey happens when all of these play an important role. If it is just like it begins and then it's over with the feedback, it's just a course. And you cannot really expect somebody to gain something out of it. And there's no way that you can expect somebody to probably go back and apply whatever they've learned. That's absolutely a wrong ask. So it is a course. Now let's look at the second question. So tell me, a program includes pre-reads, a workshop, and a post-session survey. No one checks whether participants has actually applied anything. So what is missing? A, B, C, D. Tohib says, I said learning journey because I'm unable to sponsor myself these year till next year. Got it, totally. Okay, Saroj says C. Saroj says C. Please excuse my voice. I'm under the weather and that's why the voice is slightly muddled up. Okay, Benedict says C. Thank you, Saroj. Anybody else? Why do you think it's application and reinforcement? We just discussed, didn't we? It includes pre-reads, workshop, post-session surveys, but then nobody's worried or bothered about if somebody's going back and applying something, and if there's any ROI per se that's gone, that somebody's going back and measuring. When that does not happen, of course, what is missing? Application and reinforcement is absolutely missing. And Saroj says because the value comes from the application of learning, and that's absolutely how it is. And when that does not happen, of course, that's the element that is absolutely missing. Okay, last question, I promise. After a program ends, learners say, that was useful, but you know what? I haven't had the chance to use it. What does that signal? That was useful, but I haven't had the chance to use it. What does that mean? A, B, C, and D. Do you think learners lack motivation? Do you think managers are busy? Do you think journey was not designed for ownership? Do you think the content was too advanced? Saroj says C, the journey was not designed for ownership. Little say C too, okay? Okay. Curious to know what others have to say. When say C, Saroj says A and C, both maybe. Okay, sure. It could be that learners lack motivation to some extent for sure, but I'll tell you what happens. When learners lack motivation, obviously it fades away. People would not want to probably go back and use it. But any learning program, any program for that matter, has to be designed in such a way that the ownership is picked up and not hoped for. You get what I'm saying? If the learning team is hoping for people to go back and take up the ownership, it doesn't work like that. The program has to be designed in such a manner that it is obvious that the other party will go back and pick up the ownership and, and apply, want to learn it. So that's the difference. And as learning professionals, it's important for us to keep that in the mind. It's not just motivating people, because to whatever extent you want to motivate people, you can, but after a while, it just fades away. Because motivation has to be constant, it has to be consistent. But the minute the learning team stops doing that or business stops doing that, learning fades away as well, if you latch onto motivation as a pointer. So it's important. Wow, Tommy, I love that. Design for success. And how do we design for success? We design for success keeping the learner at the center. Absolutely human-centric, learner-centric design. And that's something that we will go back and have conversations about. Of course, it's just 60 minutes, so, we will not be going in depth, but then we'll still have certain conversations that can probably help us understand certain nuances that can probably let us design in that manner. So let's just deep dive and understand what is a learning journey. Okay, what is a learning journey? What does that mean when we talk about a learning journey? A learning journey is a structured, learner-centric pathway that guides people from their current capability to a desired performance. Now, that's an important aspect that we need to keep in the mind. I'm just trying to get a pen or a highlighter. Okay, laser pointer. So this is an important aspect, because if we do not really, if the learning journey is not structured, or if it is not learner centric, or if it does not define the current state, and if it does not design the future state that the employees or the participants are supposed to translate into, it can never be a learning journey. Any learning journey with just the current status and no future focused element in there is a stepping stone for failure. So it's important for us to understand the current capability and understand what is the desired performance state as well. So it's not about you and I deciding what that is, because it's important for us to keep the learner, the business team, and work with them in tandem. Because right now what we're talking about is the learning team or the HR team for that matter, and the business working in tandem and, working towards a common goal. And if we can partner together, only then can we ensure that we curate a journey that is absolutely learner centric, that is absolutely outcome driven. And when there is no outcome that is driven, the business does not care. And if the business has to care, and if L&D needs a seat at the table, it's important for us to go back, sit together, curate that journey together, and let everybody know that it's a shared mission. Right now, what does it include? A blend of formal learning, on the job practice, reflection, feedback, social learning, etc. It's important for us to have all these nuances as a part of the learning journey. Gone are those days when people come back, sit in the classroom for 8-10 hours, listen to somebody, and then just get back in. Any learning journey that we're talking about has to be blended. Do you all agree? Blended is the way out. Do you all agree? And most of us follow this principle, don't we? The 70-20-10 principle. What does that stand for, anybody? What does the 70-20-10 stand for? 70% of? Or rather, let's start with the 10%. Yeah, 10% of Pramodini, that's right. 10% of formal learning is what we call. And it is 10% of formal learning. And 20% of? What do you think is 20%? 20% exposure. And then we have 70% of experience. Absolutely. So when we talk about this, it is hands-on experience, Aruj. Yes. So 70% is on the job. It's called the work-learn fusion. You literally ensure that when we design our journey, it's important to keep in the mind that it has to be a work, learn, and the fusion of both of it. So when we talk about the 70-20-10, of course, 10% is the formal classroom sessions that we kind of go back and conduct. 20% can be the pure learning, cohort learning, social learning, or whatever we call it. 70% has to be application driven learning. And if it does not include, if your learning program does not include that, then there is something wrong. We're not doing it the right way. All right. And how does this unfold? It works when we have intentional moments before, after. So having a pre, like we discussed, the current state and the future. And how do we even go back and showcase the current state and the future state? It's important for us to go back and track it, isn't it? Because the business will only speak the language of numbers. The business will only want to understand the data perspective. And how do you and I have data if we don't go back and measure the current state and the future state? And, we could probably latch on to simple steps for us to probably generate these numbers and create a story out of that. How can we do that? Any thoughts? How can we measure the current and the future state, or the pre and the post for that matter, to keep it very simple? What are certain elements that comes into your mind when we discuss this element right now? How do you do it in your organization? Self-reflection from Modini, sure. What else? Self-reflection, what else? Blended learning. Knowledge test pre and post, Pramodini. Absolutely. That's exactly what we're actually talking about right now as well. Now, for example, let's say surveys and stakeholder assessment, Ajit. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are a lot of organizations, Saroj says outcome matrix. Yes, chalk out whatever is the outcome matrix. What is it that is expected? And whatever those competencies are, ensure you have that set up. I mean, there has to be a competency mapping. There has to be a pre-mapping, and whatever blended sessions that you want to go back and do, ILT, or it could be, let's say, simulations for that matter, or it could be cohort-based discussions for that matter, or a self-paced learning journey for that matter, or let's say a AI simulator like KCs. I mean, if you've heard of that in Percipio, anything for that matter, you can have all of that. But then if there is any way that we can capture the score, it could be a self score, it could be a manager score as well. And if you want to go over and beyond, you can do a 360 as well, just to check in terms of peer stakeholders, etc., what they think about this particular participant, the pre and the post. That can give you an absolutely wonderful narrative. And it can be done in a very simple manner, maybe a forms, a Google Forms, or a MS Forms for that matter. right? And then, of course, taking feedback is absolutely important too. And why does that matter? Of course, it improves retention, application confidence. And the best thing is when participants are able to look at their needle movement, when somebody is able to understand that their needle is moving. Now, for example, let's say from a 60% to a 85%. I know for a fact that whatever effort that I have put in as a participant is garnering some result. So that will that's a motivation in itself, and people will take up ownership accordingly. But then it's important for us to prove to them that whatever we're contributing or whatever we're curating is adding value to the participants. So when we do that, our job is done. The rest of it is absolutely taken care of. You don't have to push. It's a pull factor because they're just going to come in and they would like to learn. So that's the way we look at it. So a learning journey turns training into a connected experience that drives real behavior change. That's what we mean here. Are we good? Any questions here? We good? Okay, sure. Let's move to the next one and understand what's in store. Okay, I'm just trying. Okay. Now we will talk about why the journey matters. How do we ensure that we move from an event to a sustained performance? Because a lot of times when we talk about learning, it is spoken in terms of, or it's considered to be an event. And it is important for us to break that rhythm, break that myth, and let people know that it is not an event. It is a journey. And that journey is helping us move to sustained performance. Okay. And what matters? What are those important nuances that will help us build a journey that is learner centric? Are the pointers that you're reading on the slide right now. The content that you make or the content that you're working on, is it relevant? Is it connecting learning to the real work? If somebody is asking for emotional intelligence, sure. There's a book. There are umpteen resources up there. But the point is, do you think it makes sense for you to curate all the fancy concepts and frameworks and put that up as a learning content and call participants for a session? Is that what is the ask? Now, if somebody's come back and told you that there is an emotional intelligence that is required, the first thing that we will have to do from the learning standpoint is to understand how do we ensure that we connect this to the real work. And if the business has come back and told you that emotional intelligence it is, that's the pain area. So we'll have to understand those behaviors or rather those scenarios where people are faltering, where people are not doing well. And when we understand that, it becomes easy to anchor it accordingly. So once you understand that bit, we can curate or contextualize the content and keep it absolutely relevant. Nobody needs to know the theoretical bit of it. Learning is a commodity. You can just go back and take learning at any given point of time. You don't really have to mug up the entire bit. It's at your disposal. What you need, you take that, you learn, and you go back and apply. It's that easy these days. But the fact is, how are you doing that? Are you presenting your audience with abstract theory that's not going to fit them at all? Or are you ensuring that you pick up those challenges and nuances, convert that or chalk that into certain priorities and micro actions and talk to them in their language so that it is retained, so that this particular aspect is absolutely sticky. The learning is sticky, or rather it helps learning stick. And how do we do that? Once the content is taken care of, once you build the content, please ensure that you have enough and more space for practice. Ensure it is spaced. I mean, we all understand that people have it's the goldfish. What do I call the attention span is what I meant is of goldfish. So it's the 7 seconds to 9 seconds is what I was reading in one of the article for Gen Zs these days. And millennials are better is what I heard. At least we have 10 to 12 seconds is what was called out. And accordingly. And that is why it's important for us to ensure that it is spaced and it is reinforced. And whatever is important is called out enough and more so that it is retained. And it's not that, okay, the story is over, the session is over, and let me just get out of it. And as a learning team, we are done. Now, can we have check-ins? Let's say emotional intelligence session is done. Sure, the session is over. Maybe after a month's time, 30 days of time, can we gather them back and check on the application bit of it? Were they able to turn whatever they learned into action? Were they able to practice? Were they able to refine those skills? Were they able to apply? Did they face any hurdle? Did they have anything that they learned in their period? Things like that. I mean, it's important for us to go back and have that check-in so that we understand if they're able to go back and apply whatever they've learned. And when we do that, that eventually will build accountability and engagement for the participant, because the milestones are clear, the ownership is shared right now, because the participants have already picked that up as their ownership. They want to own their learning. And managers are also able to go back and look at the behavioral change. And whoever has come back with a request of emotional intelligence, and when we chalk that into micro actions, if we've asked people to go back and try, apply, and come back, they're doing their business right. So the managers are seeing the business right. The leaders are able to evaluate it right. So that's exactly when the needle is moving. And that's how we move from an event of sorts to continuous learning journey and ultimately sustained performance. So what we're trying to say here is, learning journey will obviously create clarity, continuity, and one second. Confidence. That's the most important aspect here, because if that does not happen, we miserably fail. So I'm going to pause here for some time just to check if you all have any questions for me, because ultimately it's about how do we turn learning into performance, because the business needs performance. They're not worried of what and why and how we do it. For them, it's about absolute performance in terms of ROI. Are we good? Okay. Bosco, that's an interesting question. What kind of behavior changes would a manager be interested in after the training? For example, Bosco, let's say somebody's, I'm going to take up the same example of emotional intelligence. Now, let's say the manager has apparently come back and said, my team lacks emotional intelligence. Now, when you say that, what does that mean? The person, some of them in my team are not able to regulate their emotions. If they're happy, they're super happy. If they're angry, it's very evident that, if they're angry, they kind of snap literally on somebody's face. Now, after the session, if we can talk about it in the session to help them understand that it's important for us to regulate our emotions, and how can we regulate our emotions A, B, and C. And if participants are able to go back and reflect on A, B, C and apply A, B, C, managers will be able to see that, and reduction in the number of, let's say, disagreements, or, if somebody is abusive, and if they're able to kind of come back and calm down and not be super direct, etc. So that's the needle movement. That's the kind of behavioral change. Just an example. Would you be able to share any actual examples of how the team took up accountability and ownership? I mean, the example that I'm quoting is a good example in itself. Where we help people understand that why is it important for them to be emotionally intelligent, right? And this is a used case, and that's why I'm latching onto this quite often, because a lot of times when you have a multi-dimensional workforce, the way people work is absolutely different. The Gen Zs, for that matter, they're snappy sometimes, they're direct sometimes, and their body languages can be slightly cold. Millennials are very accommodating. They want to say yes to everything, and overall there will be some disruptions. But if you can go back and talk to the team saying that 20 of you in this particular session have been nominated for emotional intelligence session because there is an ask from the business, and there are certain nuances that has been highlighted, which is not really going well. So Ajit, going back and telling people that, there is a gap, and the business has seen that gap, and now it's important for us to fix that gap. We are here to help you. This is exactly what we want to do. And do you have a say in it? Do you have anything to kind of go back and talk about it? Is there anything that you would want to? And that way it becomes a shared ownership. And when you help them chalk that down into certain micro behavioral action pointers and make it easy for them, As simple as, okay, when you're angry, pause, don't react. That's a micro action. So when we can, as a facilitator, if you can call out these nuances and tell them that, okay, this is micro action one. Let's try and practice that. Do that for 2 weeks. Come back and let us know how has it worked for you. So these are certain micro behavioral actions that can be checked, that can be tracked, that can be evaluated. Everything is not number. I mean, that's something that I always talk to my leadership team about as well. I will not be able to come back and give you numbers every time. I will come back and help you understand how many escalations reduced, or how many of them are happy, doing whatever they're doing, or no escalations, etc. But not everything can be associated with numbers every time. Saroj is saying another example, some manager doing a lot of micromanagement changes self and trusts their people more and reduces micromanagement as a change in behavior. Saroj, beautiful. Absolutely. Bosco, I think that answered your question is what I'm going to presume, and then move to the next slide if that's okay. Just give me a confirmation here in the chat. In case not, we can probably take that up again after a while. So let's talk about this. This is an interesting element. Now here what we're actually talking about is how do we transition from courses to experience? Because if we are talking about learner-centric experience, we have to translate the learning design has to definitely change from delivery perspective to going and creating that impact. Now, how can we do that? There are a couple of options that is rightly mentioned on the screen here: course-led, event-based, experience-led, journey-based. So from the time the VUCA world, the Bani world and the RUPT world that we are in, as that is evolving, so is our learning curation design also evolving. Now, when you actually talk about, let's say, course-led, if your organization is only focused on course-led, the only thing that matter here is focus on content completion. I don't care how you want to complete it. For me, my success is measured in terms of how many people attended, how many people completed, and what's the satisfaction score. That's it. Nothing even over and beyond. Let's take an example. Let's say employees attend a leadership course, they complete the quiz, return to work with no follow-up at all. So these kind of courses are called, these kind of interventions are called course-led. So while we're speaking about this, I would like you to think about what's happening at your organization level. And then, if you're happy sharing that with us, sure. In case not, it's just for you to go back and reflect to understand where do you stand as an organization as well. All right. Now, let's say event-based. Now, when we talk about event-based learning happens in isolation. The minute you talk about an event happens in, the learning happens in isolation because we considered learning to be one-time event. Very little connection to real work. And it is just that it's done, tick mark, over. So let's say the example would be one-day workshop with no practice, no reflection or manager conversation after. So a session on, let's say, how to manage a team. A 4-hour session done, everybody goes home happily. But any conversation, any discussion, role plays, nothing at all. That was an event that was a part of the calendar. It happened, it got over. So that's event based. And learning happens in isolation, or learning is just an event here. Now, when we talk about experience-led, this is where we focus on behavior and performance. And here we design our journey as a blended one, keeping in mind the practice, the reflection, and how can we ease in the application bit of it as well. And it's about how do we help the business to probably make their job easy. Even if we talk about certain applications, I've heard couple of folks in certain organizations say, you know what, we have a fancy capstone towards the end. Sure. Your job in having capstone is to ensure that there is translation. The knowledge is getting transferred, and you can see that as a part of your impact. Your job for capstone is not to complicate the learning. It's not to make participants' life miserable. So the lens that you're wearing is very, very important. An example here would be, sorry, learners practice real scenarios. They receive feedback, positive, constructive, whatever it is. They reflect on what worked. They also reflect on what could have been done better. And then it becomes an experience. Here is where you include peer conversation, peer feedback, or probably a cohort-based discussion so that, it's an experience for them. And ultimately, it's the journey based where learning goes beyond classroom, which is one of the best way of learning, where learners are supported before, during, and after. Learners will apply skills on the job, they receive the right nudges, they discuss progress with managers. So typically what we're talking about is, it's the similar one in terms of experience led and journey based are almost similar. The only difference here is, in terms of journey based, you have these check-ins every fortnight, every 30, 60, 90 days, or whatever works well for you. So when we have check-ins to understand the progress, that becomes a journey in itself, and that's exactly when we can move that to be a pull factor rather than a push factor. So experience changes how people think and act. Courses alone would not do the business well. Any questions, team? Are we good? Are you able to comprehend? I mean, are you with me? Am I going too fast? Good speed. So in journey based, we do more frequent check-ins compared to experience based, Hemant. Absolutely. Yes. So check-ins need not be, again, in person and all of that. It could be, let's say, just a online check-in, or you could go back and just have a survey that is launched saying that, hello, you've completed 30 days of session, wanted to check on ABC, how were you able to go back and apply? Did you get a chance to apply? So these questions where they can just probably put in a quick 2-3 minute survey is also good enough. That's also easy for us to kind of go back and tackle and manage. And it's at your ease. Would you want to probably meet them every 30 days, or then maybe probably migrate that to an online discussion and then survey based, or start with survey, then online, and finally when it is over, maybe you can probably get them in person and have a chat with them. Okay. So what I also would like to share with you is the durable principle. So whenever you design your learning journey, keep this in the mind. Because if you're designing your learning and if you're interested in ensuring that the learning sticks, and if you want to see that performance go high, it is the durable learning journey and durable learning framework. So what does that mean? Ensure you have distributed practice, spaced learning over time. Do not really bombard them with too much of information. Space it. If you're talking for, let's say, a quick 10-20 minutes, and then ensure that you at least have one question where they can probably reflect on what happened. It could be quiz based, or it could be some experience based, or some narrative or storytelling, or whatever you want to do. But do not keep bombarding them with information throughout. And anchor in real work. Use inspired, I mean, in terms of what we say is anchor it with their real work situations and scenarios, right? So that is important. And retrieval practice means to say recall, reconsume the information, and whatever is the most important, ensure that you recall it more often. Now, if you want the participants to learn three important takeaways, ensure you keep repeating that at a spaced interval, so that people reiterate on the same thing and they do not forget what you've stated. Or give them case studies or discussions, keeping that in the mind. And allow them to apply and practice on the job. If there is no fusion of work and learn, you learn and apply that in work learn fusion, work and learn together, and then it's a work learn fusion is an important element, because if you don't do that, people do not get a chance to go back and practice on the job. And also in B stands for belonging. So we also want to ensure that we have peer connection, social connection, discussion, cohort-based discussion, or manager reinforcement, leadership reinforcement, so that they know that they're not alone in this journey. They have their buy-ins from their leadership. They are here to support them, enough and more. So if we can have that belonging element, nothing like it. And then ultimately learner ownership. obviously the choice, autonomy, and accountability. You can't force anything here, and it has to be something that they go back and pick it up themselves. Our job as learning architects is to ensure that we let them take the ownership, curate anything and everything that is required, keeping that element in the mind. Ultimately, you want the participants to take ownership, and ownership comes into picture when you let them know why are they in the classroom today, or why are they in Zoom session today, and why the business thinks they need it, and how we can help them, and how that is going to benefit them. If we can break that into simple iterations for them, the learners will take up ownership. Okay, and that's durable learning. So that's spaced, practical, applied, socially reinforced, and owned by the leader. So this is one of the most important principles that we need to keep in the mind if you want to, if we want to go back and curate a learning journey that is learner centric. Okay, durable it is. Quickly moving on, I'm being conscious about the time as well. I know I just have 10 minutes, but then I have something interesting for you too, because I thought I will also share with you a couple of frameworks that can help you curate this journey, to provide direction, clarity, and support for the learner's growth. So a couple of frameworks that works really, really well. One is called the GPS. That's the goal, path, and the support framework. So define the destination, design the journey, enable progress. So define the destination. When you define the destination, you have to tell them that from this place, you're moving to this place. We're traveling from A to B, and tell them B is the destination. Okay. So when we do that, obviously clear learning purpose, business aligned outcomes, they also understand what success looks like. Any learner centered program, any journey for that matter, has to have the goal in it, and then design the journey. Now you know what the destination is. Now, for example, let's say the destination is Switzerland, and design the journey for Switzerland. Do not design the journey, or do not take up a common journey that is already existing. That will not work. So if your destination is Switzerland, you will have to design keeping Switzerland in the mind. What kind of itinerary, what kind of clothes should the person carry, what kind of food would you get there, who's going where, what are the sightseeing options there, design all of that. How many days, how many nights, how's the journey going to look like? Sequence it and ensure it is experience based, and let them know that what is going to happen before, what is happening during, and what is happening after. So when that is crafted neatly, it becomes easy for them to understand the path themselves. And then, of course, enable progress, assess for support, ensure manager peer reinforcement happens, resources, nudges, coaching, etc., whatever that you can do to support them throughout the journey. It's important for us to have this conversation with them and help them understand that you're not alone. We are doing this together because we want you to succeed and we want us to succeed, and that's exactly how the organization will succeed. So crafting that, keeping that story in the mind is going to definitely add a lot of value. So like the GPS, learning journeys provide direction without dictating every turn. GPS does not dictate turns. It just gives us the direction. And this GPS framework is also going to give you the direction to kind of curate the pathway the right way. I'm going to take a couple of seconds break here just to check if you have any questions. Okay. So I'm going to also talk to you all about something interesting here. How do we ensure that learning moves from an event to real performance? We've spoken about this in terms of before, during, and after. This is just an elaboration of what that is. So what can you do to check on your before or the pre elements? So you can have a couple of preambles. Now, when I say that, it could be some pre-work that you want to give them. It could also be a pre-check of understanding the knowledge. If you're doing a session on agentic AI, and if you want to know what is the level of knowledge that he or she's got right now, of course, go back and give them a pre-test, understand, where's the gap. And then during during engage for capability, you add all that as a missed factor in the before element, add that up here and curate your content, and then give the same pre-task for them to go back and take it up. You will see a great pre and a post score. And go back and look at the training percentage, the needle movement percentage. It is post minus pre divided by pre into 100 will give you post minus pre divided by pre into 100 will give you the needle movement percentage. So you can go back and talk to your business about this is the needle movement percentage. Agentic AI, after doing the session, 80% of them state that they're confident about gaining the knowledge. And applicability bit of it obviously will take some time, but at least gaining the knowledge per se, you can go back and have that conversation with the team. A quick bit, of course, we know all of this. Storytelling as a skill is a mandate skill that we need to have as a part of HR, learning and development, or any business as well, for that matter. It's important how we create stories, how we craft stories, how we add meaning to it, and ensure that we engage and transfer it accordingly. Now, 3 important elements that you need to keep in the mind: keep the context in the mind, keep the engagement bit, that's the connection in the mind, and ensure that you have the continuity. So the context, connection, and continuity will give you enough and more a segue for you to curate that story in itself. I will give you a couple of seconds to read what is beneath that. It's just a read, so quickly read that, and then I think you should be good. It's quite simple. Okay, this is one of the learning framework, like storytelling framework again. This is interesting for you to understand who your learners are, have characters, have the context, have the right kind of conflict, choices, consequences. When you add all these elements, it becomes a movie in itself, because any discussion, any story, any sessions that we do, it is obviously, it has a beginning, it has the middle, and it has an end as well. So keeping the 5 C's in the mind will kind of help you have a purposeful story. It's not to kind of have that decorated feeling. It is just to ensure that we understand the nuance and then ensure that we tie that up to the learning outcome. So this is something that you can keep in the mind as well. Just an example of what it is. You can snip this, and you can probably go back and read it at your ease as well. I've just given an example of how you can probably use this particular framework while you're curating. So I've just given you an example. I mean, a Ravi who's a first-time manager, having characters like that. Context, what is the context? What is the conflict? What are the choices Ravi's got? And what's the consequence? So if we can have our narrative in this manner, well, it becomes a seamless story, and people love stories. It wouldn't seem like they're listening to somebody who's bombarding information, but then it's a story in itself. Who does not like context? Who does not like conflict? Who does not like to understand what's the consequence and what happened later, isn't it? So that's the 5 C's of storytelling. So I'm going to end with this particular slide. Of course, we've spoken enough and more how to go back and curate learner-centric design, which is absolutely seamless. But what you see here are certain hurdles that can probably come back strong, come back as a bummer or a barrier for us. Now, these are the top elements that stood out when there was the in the Forbes survey that was conducted in terms of why certain learning journeys fail, and I've picked up the top 4, and I've given you an example for you to kind of understand that better as well. When you design from course perspective and not learner's perspective, you and I fail. When you treat learning as a single moment, you and I fail. The organization fails. If you ignore real work situations, we fail. You leave the learner and managers out of it. There's no ownership. ownership, and ultimately we all fail. So well-designed learning journey would prioritize people, context, and sustained application so that learning is absolutely continuous, and and the organization will be able to go back and look at it in terms of the behavioral change, the mindset change, and that's exactly how we can build the culture of learning the right way. On that note, of course, I'm going to end. It's 10 p.m. here in India. So I think I'm right on time, Pratibha. I've not taken a single minute more than what was allocated. But I'm curious to know if you all have any questions regarding the discussion. And I also would want to understand if, how did you like the discussion? Did it add any value? What's the difference between persona-based journey and learner-centered journey? Persona-based journey is an amazing concept. Somebody's trying to say something? Okay, I'll just take up this one question if that's okay. When you talk about persona-based journey, for example, let's say in the organizations that I've worked, we've also picked up this persona-based learning. So that is a one-to-one learning where you actually take a simulator to understand a persona. For example, let's say I I am working with somebody and I have a problem with my manager, and my manager is not very understanding. Pratibha is my manager, and Pratibha is little direct and I'm not able to work very well with her. So I go to this AI simulator, create a persona of Pratibha, and then have conversations to Pratibha, and the AI will kind of give me those generated feedback in terms of what went well, what did not go well, what I could probably, what kind of words can I use, what kind of statements can I use, how can I probably go back and pitch. So that becomes persona driven session. So that is more one to one, because a lot of times the issue is not really persona based. It is a journey in itself. It's a learning journey, keeping certain competencies or certain gaps in the mind. But persona driven also is taken care of when it is individualistic and it is one to one, to answer your question.
So, thank you so much, Sheena, for the amazing and impactful session. Also, thank you so much to detail and thoughtful answer of all of the question. I'm sure our participants have learned a lot today and have gotten solved most of the queries. So, as we are running out of the time, so not keeping you and the other participant for very long. So, participant, I am sharing Sheena's LinkedIn ID into the chat box so that you can connect with her directly for any kind of query, any kind of guidance. I'm sure she would be happy to help you out, right, Sheena?
Absolutely.
So, before moving forward, would you like to give any final statement?
Well, thank you, Pratibha, for this opportunity. I always enjoy coming back to GSDC. It's a lot of learning for me as well, a lot of amazing participants. The only thing is, let's keep our learning flag high, because a lot of things keep changing every now and then. So a cohort like this will kind of help us understand from various experiences, and it's a definitely a great value add. So let's keep our learning flag high and then help each other in learning. Thank you so much, and look forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for your thoughtful statement, and we are also happy to having you back here again, and we would love to have you in the future sessions as well. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
let's move ahead with the next part of the session. So, participant, if you are ready to get certified into the learning and development, the certifications are available on our website now. So, in any of the domain into the learning and development, you can have the certification. We are also giving a complimentary coupon code to all of our participants, which will give you a 20% off. So, if you want to get certified, check out our website, use the coupon code link which I have shared into the chat for your convenience, get 20% off and get certified. But this offer is available for a very short time of period, so make sure you're taking the advantage of it. So before wrapping up the session, I just wanted to make a quick announcement regarding the utility tool. So if you're on your job hunting journey, then this tool is for you. What you can do, if you can log in into utility tool by using your LinkedIn ID and password, and it will give you a recommendation according to the job designation you're targeting and the industry you're targeting, and it will re-improvise your LinkedIn profile. We are also giving a complimentary coupon code to all of our participants, which will give you 100% off for using this tool. But this offer is also available for a very short time of period, so make sure you're taking the advantage of it and make your resume stand out in front of the HRs and recruiters. Also, all the best to all of the job hunters out there. So, as today we had an amazing and impactful session with Sheena Tomorrow we are going to have one more insightful session with Niyati. Niyati is a tech executive and a learning and development professional expert. She is going to lead the session on intelligence and physical AI in product development, architecting agentic vision system for autonomous decision making in learning and development. And this is going to be happen tomorrow, 25th March 2026 at 10:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 11:30 p.m. Singapore time, 9 p.m. Indian time, and 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So registrations are open. You can check out our website. Otherwise, you can use the link which I have shared into the chat box. I'm hoping to see you all tomorrow session as well. And if you're one of those people who wants to learn regarding the ISO, then this webinar is for you. This is going to be conducted from 23rd to 26th March at 9:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 10 p.m. Singapore time, 8 p.m. Indian time, and 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The registrations are open. Otherwise, you can use the link which I have shared into the chat box. Also, if you're one of those people who wants to learn regarding new AI technologies, then this webinar is for you. And this is going to be conducted from 23rd to 26th March at 8:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 9:30 p.m. Singapore time, 7 p.m. Indian time, and 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The registrations are open. Otherwise, you can use the link which I have shared into the chat box. With that, it's time to celebrate our referral champions. We have Bhanu Durgesh, Oluvaga, and B. Venkatesh. So, special thanks to all three of you for helping us amplify our initiative and reach it to the wider global audience. You can also become one of our knowledge professional and advisors. What you have to do, if any of your peers, colleagues, and professional wants to join for this webinar or any other webinar, you can refer the registration link which you will find on our website. So what's in it for you? You will get a referral for your every reference. And once you hit a 50 referral points, you will be able to get a free $400 worth gift certification voucher. But as always, this offer is also available for a very short time of period. So make sure you're taking the advantage of it and become one of our knowledge professional and advisors. We would love to have you in our community. Also, if you would like to be one of our speaker for learning capsules, webinar, and podcast, then please reach out to us at pratibha@gsdccouncil.org and pritham@gsdccouncil.org. I have shared the email ID into the chat box for your convenience. These are the platform where you guys can connect with us. Our LinkedIn profile, our WhatsApp group, our YouTube channel, our Twitter channel, our Pinterest channel, as well as on our website. So I'm sharing this slide into the chat box as well, so that it will be easier for you to scan all of the scanner, and you can connect with us. I'm also sharing the link as well, just in case if any of the scanner is not working for you, you can connect with us throughout the link. So just allow me a minute to share all of this information. So here you go. So do connect with us on all of the platform for staying updated regarding our upcoming events and trends. Also, do share your feedbacks and suggestions, learning outcomes, session key takeaways most resonated with you on reviews.io, because your feedbacks and suggestions help us improving our program and make your learning journey even more engaging, dynamic, and insight. With that, it's time to come to event end. Thank you so much once again, Sheena, for coming on our platform. We had a blast in your session today. Looking forward to having in the future sessions as well. Thank you so much to all of the participants for joining into our learning journey. Before going, I would like to answer one of those questions which I have gotten most today, the recording. So you can access all the recording on our YouTube channel. So do follow and subscribe our YouTube channel to get the latest recording or every sessions. With that, it's time to come to end. Thank you so much once again to all of the participants for joining into our learning journey. I'm hoping to see you all tomorrow as well. Till then, keep learning, keep energizing. Have a good day, good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are.